Is it possible that even if they were to comply with everything you recommended, they could still be raided?
Well, that's a good question because the district attorney has come out and said, well, even if he says that no dispensaries are legally compliant. He says that they're all illegal. And he says that based on the fact that they've got cash transactions happening at their location. And so that's why it's important for there to be a court order determining what is acceptable practice. And that's hopefully we'll have that TRO filed by the end of this week, and we'll get a judge looking at that right away.
What are the benefits, I guess, of getting the marijuana from the dispensary as opposed to just any drug dealer? Is there a price difference?
I don't know if there's a price difference. I don't know what's happening on the black market. But one of the differences that I understand is that when patients get their medicine from a patient organization, they can be sure of the quality of the medicine. They can be sure that it's organically grown. They can be sure that it's been tested. They can know what the THC content is. They can know that there's no mold or fungi in the medicine. And they can know that it's been handled with care.
I'm asking that because if these dispensaries were to get shut down, would there be a risk, I guess, from patients who need the drug, for dealing with drug dealers who can't always provide a reputable product?
Well, it's a good point because there's a number of problems with going to the black market for medicine. And one of those is on a public policy level, it's an issue of it being an attractive nuisance. Oftentimes drug dealers work out of their homes, and then there's the chance of people's homes being burglarized or raided, or burglarized mainly, criminal elements getting involved. But additionally, the medicine is possibly less safe. If they're getting it on the street, for example, they don't know the quality of their medicine. They don't necessarily have a relationship with a person. Whereas when they join patient associations, they get to know the people. They sometimes participate in the cultivation project itself. They can see the nutrients that are going into cultivating the plants, and they know how their medicine is being handled. So, yes.
What kind of regulation would you ultimately like to see in, I guess, LA or across the whole country?
I would like to see regulation that satisfies everyone, that everyone can be happy with. Patients, law enforcement, and community and the neighborhoods in which these patient associations exist. And that's possible. We are consulting with neighborhood groups on a regular basis, and we're listening to their concerns. And in our draft ordinance of regulations for regulating medical cannabis patient associations, we've addressed as many concerns that we've heard of from the neighborhood councils. And we're also listening very carefully to law enforcement, because law enforcement has their own concerns, and they've drafted papers, and we've read the papers that they've made available online and listened to some of their concerns directly. And hopefully we've come out with a draft ordinance that everyone can feel happy about.
Do you want to see marijuana legalized in the United States?
That is not a concern of mine. I think that what we have right now with medical cannabis is sort of indirectly a form of legalization itself. I would like to see medical cannabis properly regulated and our public satisfied with that before they take on full legalization. I hear some proponents talking about full legalization, and some people are into that, but that's not something that our organization is advocating for.
What about the possibility of taxing the drug? I know some numbers have been thrown out there. If California were to tax marijuana and make it legal, it could generate up to about $14 billion, I think.
Well, I think that that number is excessive and unrealistic. But those people that are talking about taxing are talking about taxing a legalized marijuana. And what our organization is focusing on is regulating medical cannabis. And I'm concerned about taxes, and for the following reason. The price of medical cannabis is already overinflated because of the risk in cultivating it, the risk against incarceration, by law enforcement. And so the price is there's legal fees and inflated sense of people's participation because they're taking the risk of cultivating that already has the price at least twice what it could be if there were sensible regulations. When we get the regulations out and law enforcement can come visit cultivation sites and know that everyone is operating above board and according to the law, the price of medicine will come down. To tax medical cannabis now is a bit of a travesty because what's happening is that the medicine is for patients, so it would be a regressive tax. It would be like almost an insult to injury. Already, patients are having a difficult time, navigating their way through this unregulated territory, and then to throw a tax on top of it is just an extra burden. Now, when there's full regulation out and medical cannabis patient associations have respect from law enforcement and the prices come down, then that would be a fine time to tax it.
I'm kind of confused. What would be the difference between the strict regulation and just legalizing the whole thing? It just seems like it'd be confusing to keep bringing in all these legal terms about regulating when you could just legalize the whole thing.
Well, there's a lot of people that are advocating for full legalization. I don't think there is enough public will to legalize marijuana. So regardless of what they put on the ballot, I don't think it'll pass anytime soon. But more importantly, I think the reason why that's the case is because the public is concerned about the ramifications of medical cannabis in society, even though there's a lot of good documentation that regulating a drug like medical cannabis is a proactive, positive solution to implementing its use in society. There's still a lot of people that are really concerned about it, and I think that it's important that we all have empathy for everyone's concerns, and we take those into account.
Do you think, lastly, I guess the last point is that medical marijuana has been tied to, I guess, the recent Mexican drug cartel wars? Do you think that has had any impact?
I have no idea about that. I don't see anyone that I know or anyone that I know that's affiliated with anyone that's related to anyone in the drug cartels. And I'd have no idea what kind of impact. I don't think that there's so many medical cannabis patients that it's making an impact on that. But there was recently a Washington Post article that said that. I'd be surprised if that's true, but it's how can we possibly know?
Well, thanks again for coming on and discussing medical marijuana with us. I'm Matt Johnson, and this is On Point. How did you get into the medical marijuana scene?
I actually was in school teaching before I did this. I spent 10 years as an elementary school teacher for Los Angeles Unified. And when the Bush administration implemented the No Child Left Behind, they left me behind. It was a funny sort of situation where I was an experiential education teacher. So I wasn't really about testing modes for educating children. And I had quite a bit of conflict with the administration when at the end. So I got out and I was looking for what else to do, and I'm really about fighting for the underdog. And I saw all the variables coming together in the community for the establishment of medical patient associations. And I saw that they were running into all kinds of problems with law enforcement. I said, I can be a good mediator here.